Dude, should I get a
Oh
backwards hat?
my God. Get a backwards hat. Get a backwards hat.
I just realized that.
Do you have one handy?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Okay. Yeah, I'll go get it.
What? Are you okay?
Yeah, get it. Jordan, you and I just had we just had the cutest little 2-on-2 date the other night.
It was
How-
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was nice. You,
Intentional.
you wore a really nice jacket and you had
Thank you.
Jordans on. You looked great.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thanks.
It was interesting because the thing that stands out to me the most about it, well, two things. The one thing that I have been thinking about the most is how, and I brought this up to you beforehand, is how it wasn't it wasn't hitting what I usually do for a date.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that was where like the nerves are coming in, so we ended up going to Rob and I were both in Chicago for Thanksgiving, and I presented the idea because Rob had gone on a couple dates with a girl that was in Chicago, and I was like, hey, grab one of her friends and let's go on a double date. Let's like play this out. Let's content for the podcast and just have a night out on the town. So we did that. And we went out and got drinks initially at the Soho House. Very nice, very high end. It was wonderful. Some NBA players showed up. Chance the Rapper showed up later in the night.
I saw him later.
It was a who's who. And then we went out to this nice little dinner, which I've mentioned on the podcast before is like a first hang. And actually, my date and I spoke about how we usually wouldn't do that on a first date. So I was like,
Right.
oh, thank you so much. I'm really glad that like I'm not the only one feeling this way.
I gotta be honest. I had such a great time. Like I
Mhm.
was really looking forward to just spending time with you and like broing out and
Yeah.
getting a little like Chicago night in. And it's very odd because I don't know if the girls are listening to the episode. And if you are, that's fine. Hi, how are you? I'm Rob. Um, but the reality is like it was a very enjoyable double date. Like it was just an
Hmm.
enjoyable time. It was very pleasant. We played what are your three favorite fruits at dinner,
As is tradition.
as
See,
is tradition.
but Rob brought it up, not me. And so
I did bring it up.
later in the night, I broke down the psychology with my date. Because I hate saying like my date versus Rob's date, because it definitely felt like just a friends going out type of
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah.
Granted, Rob had gone on a date, like a few dates with this girl in the past. So it was a little like, hey, here are the coupled up pairs, but never did I feel like I couldn't talk
Yeah.
to one person or the other.
It's like a polyamorous cuddle puddle, kind of a
little
four
bit.
top. Yeah.
A swingers night.
Yeah.
There
Anything
was
could have
zero
happened.
swinging happening. There was nothing swingery.
Yeah, that's
about
true.
it.
Very true.
But however Alex wants to frame it is totally fine with me. Yeah, so we played what are your three favorite fruits, and then we
Uh-huh.
also played what are some red flags and some icks at dinner, which I thought
Sure.
was fascinating. And your date had
Mhm.
such great specifics.
Yeah, it was really good. So we were initially just talking about general, like if they have bad teeth, they're like bad manners. And she brought up one that was like, if you're late at the airport and you're like sprinting to your gate, like that would just be a
Wow,
huge
that's
ick.
super specific.
And it's just like, I guess in that situation, if you are on a, like looking over at someone that you're like early on dating and seeing like the fact that you guys are both disorganized to be like in this circumstance and to see them, I really enjoyed how she played it of like, okay, let's talk about just some really specific goofy things.
Could you, Jordan, would you
Yeah.
take us through the walk home?
Oh, yeah. It was so we were kind of like put to be independent after dinner. We went back to the Soho House, and so it was a little more of a one-on-one as opposed to a group thing. And her and I were having a great conversation, and her and I both actually went out the night before, so we were a little like hungover and just kind of like beat up. And she had someone staying with her as well, and so she lived a few blocks away, and so um we were just talking and she's like, all right, that's it for me. And I was like, okay, great. And I like walked her home and she turns when we got to her place. She's like, so my place is like a complete mess. Like, I'm so sorry. I usually would invite you up. And I was like, it's fine. Like I was actually just like walking you home. I was not expecting this because I don't, there wasn't like amazing, like she's a great girl, all that kind of stuff, but it just wasn't like a, hey, we should stay in touch, do this again. This is a really interesting circumstance where like, I didn't even ask for her number. Like it was just kind of like, this was an enjoyable evening. Kind of feels like a one-off thing that was fun. I'm glad we like got to do it, hang out with Rob and all that. And that was kind of it. And so
would you go on another double date with me? That's the real question.
Sure. Yeah. I have no
not
issue.
100% yes.
Like, yeah.
Listen, I feel like I need to just draw some
Get
attention to this.
Yeah.
Just
get in here.
Listen, there's World Cup frenzy going around the world. And we have a Ronaldo and a Messi of dating who both happened to be in the same city and they played in a match together. And I guess my question is these two greats, Federer and Nadal, LeBron and Curry.
We literally driving down, we're like, we're Kobe and Shaq.
It's like it's 2001 all over again.
What did you experience from the other one that maybe you didn't know before this double date?
Ooh, that's a great question.
So I do the other thing that I wanted to point out is Rob acknowledges his height a little bit, where one of his icks was like, if a girl's like 5'3", that's like a foot shorter than me. So like, I'm just like, I get it. I'm short. You're tall. I'm not as tall.
It's all I got. I will say that I think Jordan, I was impressed with your style. I like,
thank you.
I was like, Jordan has cool style. And I think it made me almost be like, am I dressed cool? Like, do I have cool shoes? Or am I just like a big oaf?
Big 6'3".
Big 6'3". I also I looked over at you and your date, and like you kept up the conversation. It was very light. It was pleasant. Like there was no like, oh, like, is Jordan okay? I never had to like worry if you were okay.
Yeah, I think going into that, going into this, I think, if we do it again, I think it would be nice if we were both fresh and having not have like prior past experience with one of the people. I think there's a
date for both.
Yeah, it's like jitters on everyone. It's a little like literally 2-on-2 where it's like you hang out with that one person. Are we vibing here? Okay, let's swap and just like interact and chat and do that and like see who's meshing. Like, but I never, did you guys ever do grouper?
I was just gonna say it, dude. Grouper,
I never did
amazing.
Grouper. I wish I was a part of the Grouper. Bad. So can you explain, Alex, explain to the audience what Grouper is for those who don't know.
It was you and two friends, so three people, and you go on a date with three girls who are all friends. So basically, like, you're with two of your really good friends for a night out with a girl and two of her really good friends a night out. And like, definitely sometimes romantic sparks fly between like people within the six top. But I was on like three of them, and more than not, it just turned into like a 6-person super fun night out. And actually one time, because Grouper coordinates the date, this is like coming from like the cobwebs here. So we were on a Grouper and we saw that there was another Grouper happening because Grouper like works with local restaurants or bars to do it. So they do like multiple. And then ours was kind of a dud group. And these really fun girls were with kind of like a dud group of guys. So we kept calling it Grouper Swooper, Grouper Swooper. And we just swooped and traded groups. And Grouper, man, what happened to that thing?
I don't know. It was
Grouper.
such a fad in like 2011, 2012. I know my Chicago friends were like constantly doing it and they were like asking me to fly in to be part of like, and I never did. I was so bummed to like, I think that would have been so fun.
I never went on a Grouper. That sounds like the best first date imaginable because you're like with all your friends. So you get their like approval if you're bonding with a girl, and then like the girl kind of sees past just you. She can also see like your friend group and like your world a little bit more. So she understands like who you are a little bit better. Man, grouper, we got to bring
Jordan
it back.
and Rob, let's go on another.
I know.
Let's set you all up. Who wants to slide in the DM there?
We can just do that. Yeah,
Just
find a new
another
city,
2-on-2.
a new city to do this in, and just kind of make it happen. I do want to bring up also, this was an interesting moment, and I'd love to hear, Rob, your perspective of this. So I'm a content creator. I have a large following on social media.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
And Rob's date is like, can we talk about this for a second? And I was like, sure. Like, all right, where are we going with this? And she's like, essentially, she was like, so how much do you make?
She said, how much do you charge for a sponsored post?
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Which like was a little like, oh, okay. I thought we would talk a little bit more about the experience or some brands that I've worked with or anything along those lines. And it was a little jarring. And I ended up kind of like saying a mid range or like a low range of where I usually charge.
Yeah. It was an awkward interaction. So let me say it from the guy who was not in the interaction and just watched it unfold. Yeah, my date, I think I totally think her intentions were kind and not malicious at all. And I think she was really curious because she works with a lot of influencers and content creators for her company that she works for. And I think it was more of like gathering information because she's actually dealing with these numbers and trying to understand the market.
Of course.
That said, she didn't really preface any of that. She just kind of came in hot and was like, how much money do you make? And you literally rebutted with like, did you just ask me like what I make? Like you just asked me
like my salary. Yeah, Rob came in and was like, you're pretty much asking him like what his salary is, like all that. And so
because I wanted to back you up because I could tell that it made you just got a little uncomfortable. Like it made you uncomfortable, understandably.
Yeah, I mean, no one loves that quite. Like that's just like a very vulnerable, like a beyond vulnerable of a situation. Not in a bad way, and not that I don't make a living doing off of it, and it's fine. It just caught me off guard for sure.
Yeah.
Would you say though that, and this is a little Von Deepa, but like, would you say that you're a little insecure about what you charge and like what you make salary wise? Because I definitely
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think like for what I charge is normal. And if not like, especially doing it for 5 years and having good relationships, like I feel comfortable, like maybe charging a little bit more and sometimes charging a little less. Like it is like a slope. Not every project is coming at that rate. So it was like one of those things too of like, okay, like, do I say a lower end or do I say the higher end or the highest that I've been paid for a project and all that? Like it just put me in, it's not just like a flat number and the consistency of it. So it was one of those things that just, it was a little interesting. And I thought to hear your perspective on how that came across or
it came off a little intense and I just think that's her delivery but not the intent at all.
Of course. Yeah. I didn't think it was like, I don't think you're surviving off of this. So what are you, like, tell me this salary for like my friend to know. Yeah. That's what I got all week from my mom. But that's a different story.
Oh my God. That was such a highlight of my Chicago trip.
Meeting Eileen?
Yeah. I was like, Rob's coming to pick me up. And my mom's like, can I come outside and officially meet him? Because she went to all the Highland Park plays growing up. Or like when we were in high school and Rob was in theater. And so she knew Rob and knew of Rob and never actually got to.
How was the meeting?
Eileen is lovely. It was great. I think Eileen is a wonderful woman. And
she did go. And her first words were, gosh, you are tall.
Yeah. I'm pretty tall, I'm 6'3". It's like,
I just pictured you as Peter Pan when we were talking about theater. Did you play Peter Pan? But it's the same size that you are now.
I never got to play Peter Pan, but it would be a role of a lifetime. It would be the honor of my life to harness Peter Pan.
Alex, what other questions do you have about that experience? We FaceTimed you on the way down.
That was fun.
Yeah, we got to meet Samantha. That was amazing. It was like quick and I was driving and I felt a little awkward. But
No. I mean, she was super funny with it. You two just looked like you were sitting very close. And maybe that's because you were trying to be in the same FaceTime
Yeah.
screen with it.
Have you ever FaceTimed with someone
I'm
else?
driving and Jordan's sitting on my lap, just the safety first, you know.
Okay, what other questions do I have? Well, did you pick up on any quote unquote like moves? Like, okay, so the fruit thing would definitely be one, but anything that you picked up on the other person, like, that seems like kind of a move.
Hmm. I didn't really bring anything out. Like there wasn't I did ask my date the pillows question. But that was when it was a more of a one-on-one thing. I didn't like publicly ask that question.
What's that question
Um,
again? Just
how many pillows do you sleep with?
sure, sure,
How,
sure,
and
sure,
how do
sure,
you
sure,
sleep with
sure.
them? How
Sure,
many
sure,
pillows do
sure.
you sleep
It's a
with?
good question.
It is good. It's because it's a little more intimate. Yeah.
You're just talking about it. You know, you're a little concerned when someone says 0 pillows. You're like,
Sure.
you just like lay down. Let's
What are you, a
serial
psychopath?
killer
Jeffrey
stuff.
Dahmer?
Yeah.
I sleep with flesh only. All right, that's
Samantha
weird.
does that.
Samantha doesn't sleep with pillows? Dude, you're gonna get murdered.
What what does
What
she
if this whole
do?
time she's just
There's
like
Billy.
grooming you to murder you?
Oh wow.
I'm gonna meet Alex's family.
I
I
hope
love him
not.
so much, and then I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna murder him.
I hope not.
Sleep with no pillows.
Wow. Samantha,
I
I'm just kidding. If you listen.
I've never in my life had like a design pillow though. What do you call them? Throw pillows or like I've never owned one of those. I have. Did you guys?
Yeah, I have. Dude,
Yeah,
I've been
I could see
married. I've
that.
been
Right.
engaged. Like I'm dude,
Just
you said something to me the other day, or maybe this was yesterday when we were on the phone. You're like, yeah, you got a punch card for engagements or something.
Yeah.
It struck such a chord with me.
Whoa.
It was like he's like, yeah, I mean, you got a punch card for those, and I was just like,
I mean,
fuck.
that's kind of a dick thing of me to say. I was just trying to be funny,
It
but
was funny. Like it just made me happy that I was like in a place to like really laugh about so much of
yeah.
the trauma that I've been through. And like it was it was funny. It was really good. I do have a punch card.
That is good. Going back to it, I do think it is an interesting experience to do something that is a little bit more of, for the best analogy that I can say, is like a lone wolf experience. Like dating when you're just one on one, your behavior is definitely maybe
Definitely
just
different.
yeah, just different than when you're in a more group setting. And like I said, it felt more friend vibe, and just her and I yeah, there wasn't this like romantic element I felt at any point
There
in
was a
time.
couple moments at dinner when she made you laugh, like full guttural laugh. And I was like, hello, like this is,
Oh, really? I don't
yeah,
even remember that.
I just
Just
remember
blacking out.
there was a couple things she said, and I thought they were like very entertaining and engaging. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, maybe there is a vibe between them. And
Mm-hmm.
because I never looked over, and obviously my date and I, we were talking and kind of like, do you think they're gonna hook up, or like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think? Is there a vibe? Because it was a first date, right? So it's the
Right.
vibe check. And I kept being like, yeah, they're definitely like, Jordan's the man. They're definitely gonna hook up. And then my date was like, I don't think so. Like, I don't know. And it was
Yeah,
just
there just was.
interesting.
Yeah, there was never that.
You guys were
That
like surface connecting, which was
for
lovely.
sure.
It was like lovely
Yeah.
to watch. It really was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was cool. Like I have nothing but good things to say. It just wasn't like this match, and that's okay. And I kind of was just going into it of like, hey, let's have this experience, and you know, it's all good. Whatever happens, as long as it doesn't like end with it being like one of us getting up being like, I can't believe you just said that,
Right.
which
Right.
felt very far to being even happening in any situation.
I do want the three of us to have a night out, because it's just been
Grouper.
Yeah, we need a grouper swooper.
Does
Kinda
Sam
night.
have two friends, and maybe we'll just come down and do a
Well, it's 3-on-3 with a half court.
Come on down to A Town. That's
A-Town?
Alextown and Austin.
Are we gonna crash in your home?
Yeah, dude, you can crash there, or you could crash there.
Nice.
Probably both you guys would be a little intimate, but fuck yeah, we'd do an arrow bed. Yeah, no, it'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Wow. Okay.
That up there, nope, up there behind those dressers is a door to there's an older woman whose house that I'm renting.
Yeah.
She might be in there. I don't know. We could break that down. You guys can go sleep in there.
I thought you were like, yeah, she could go on the date with us. Like, she could be the third. Yeah, I would say, all right. So just final thought on the double date. I really enjoyed being able to spend time with Jordan out in the wild. I saw, I don't want to like call it game because it wasn't like game, like you were just being yourself. And I definitely like it was a really fun night. And it's always nice because obviously I'm sober, like going out with a group and going out with friends and having so much fun without substances and like still having just as good of a time, if not even better, without booze and substances. And like it was just a fun night. It was really fun.
Yeah.
It was a great time. So that's my final thought.
10 out of 10 would do it again. Can't wait.
Yes.
I do think it needs to be the
First dates. Yeah.
a double blind for sure.
Well,
I love how I'm like hoping that Jordan will go on a second date with me. I'm the like, oh, I hope he texts me. I hope Jordan texts me.
What if this kind of evolves and you guys keep doing this, but slowly there just stops being other people joining you too,
and we're just dating each other,
just hanging out.
Yeah, still single. And then the two guys started dating each other. It got weird. Oh man. Webbs, how you feeling, man? You're going into like a big holiday intro.
I am. I mean, we're a month off.
Are we? It's December 1st tomorrow. So 3 weeks. 3 weeks till Christmas. Yeah.
I'm feeling good. I'm I'm like I'm getting settled in Austin, still figuring it out, this place, but we're good. I feel like a little bit of like a hot mess today, a little bit, because of like I drove this morning and I don't know. I'm sorry. So this is like such a tangential thing of what I've noticed. I get very, I don't know what the right word is like, but like polite rude and it comes up. It's probably like a self-worth thing. I could talk to a therapist about it, but it comes up like when I feel like a service or product has not been up to what it should be. So like last night, like I booked a hotel to like whatever, get a restful night's sleep. But they just opened the hotel. And so the whole thing smelled so new that I was like getting like a headache from like the fumes of
chemicals.
Yeah. And so like I didn't sleep and there was like it was like a noisier road than they made it out to. It was just like I slept like crap. So then I like woke up and I went to the front desk and the person, like I get it, it's not her. And she was like overly like, I was like, hey, so like last night, like there's like a lot of like fumes in the room. She's like, I totally know. We've been hearing a lot of that. And she like went off in this whole thing. I'm like, yes. I'm like, but like, I wanted a restful sleep and I did not receive a restful sleep. And so like, I don't know. I get like very stick in the mud with that of like, I would like to speak with a manager. But I think it's like a self-respect thing of I used to for so many years be like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Right, it's whatever. Right. But I'm kind of at a place where it's like, it's not fine. I did pay. Like I held up my end of the bargain.
I'm totally on the other spectrum of that. I've always been the guy to be like, your service is not great and I'm pissed. And it's almost coming off in like a douchey way. Not saying that you're being douchey. I'm saying I was douchey.
Sure.
And now I'm kind of at a place of like more passive and more like, it's okay. And I don't know, it like feels better. But I think this shift in you is good because it's like you not like you taking.
There's a balance though, because I've noticed she was like, okay, well, I'll talk with the manager when he's in later, and then I'll give you a call. And it's like, I'm kind of like, I need like, to not
I want
take
the fumes
other
now.
Yeah, like I have like I need to not take other frustrations and channel them to this, because I'm kind of like, okay, well, maybe he should have already been in by now, but maybe he gets in at 4 p.m. Like, I'm waiting. Like, Envato in Waco, Texas, I'm not letting this go.
You're hoping for a full refund?
No, but
Halvesies?
and it's one of those things where it's like, it's less even about the money as much as like, I would just like them to be like, you're right. Let's call
Come
it
back.
this.
What about come back and we'll give you a free weekend, maybe a
Yeah,
getaway?
but then I gotta come to Waco and stay at a roadside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, I booked us a trip.
I definitely exactly. I definitely remember there was a situation like that, and I agree, because I'm on the. There are certain times that I will stand up, and other times I'll like walk away and just like let it eat at me for a bit. And there was one time that they screwed up, and I knew it wasn't the person that I was talking to fault, and I was just like, "Listen, I know it's not your fault, but I also know that there's a button that you can push that gives me a big discount that." You like, this isn't your company. This is a big corporation. It's not your fault, but you know that you guys screwed up. Yeah. And they gave me like $250 off. Like, it was great. Sick. Like, and so
press the button.
Yeah, just push this button that gives me this discount that, like I deserve, because this is BS. It's setting boundaries. It's standing up for yourself.
I agree.
Yeah, it's standing up for yourself, and I'm trying to relate this back to like relationships. Like, is there a button with your significant other,
like, give me a discount, like, or
not give me a discount, but just like,
come on, baby, it's my birthday.
It's my birthday. Give me $250 credit to the freak show. No, it's like more of like, in confrontation and in conflict, is there a button? Like, is there a way to voice your pain or your discomfort without coming off as complaining?
I think it's presenting that, knowing your shortcomings, or being like, hey, this triggered me, that this behavior, like, I know this is my things to deal with a little bit, and less blamey, and being like, this is how this made me feel, or this crossed this line for me, and these are things that I am working on, but I am just presenting your behavior that triggered that.
So that's basically saying like, this is so coming clean and just being like, I'm feeling very overwhelmed, or I'm feeling invisible to you, or I'm feeling
because of past traumas that I have, this is a sensitive issue for me, and you triggered that. So I just want you to be aware of these behaviors that, and I'm working on this, and I'm understanding that not to like allow this to affect me the way that it often does, or and it's so much easier said than done. And but it's growing on that, of kind of a relationship is a two-way street. It's not just one-sided thing. So understanding like your behavior, your past traumas are also at play.
Yeah, dude, it's so true. No, it is. I mean, because those things that we've had, like, I had a thing that happened in my college relationship that was traumatic. Like, I don't mean it in like hashtag trauma. I mean, like, it like rocked me. Yeah. And I noticed that if anything starts to get in that realm, like my old therapist would say, does the response meet the stimulus? Like, or are you overreacting? And like, my reaction is bigger. But I think also, like what you guys are saying, it's emotions that, like, I don't know, it's just really tough in relationships, because we're dealing with love and rejection and fear and intimacy and vulnerability. It's like such big emotions. And it's those emotions that kind of get in the way of us being super poised and calm and rational. Right. But I will say, like, if we can, and like, there really is truth of like, just take a breath, like walk the block, like, just like, I don't know, there's a lot of truth in that of not just like getting right into it.
It reminds me, I was flying back from Chicago on Sunday with Leia, and we almost missed our flight. We were like so close to missing our flight. And we go through TSA, and they, of course, ding both of our bags. I have a full water bottle that my mom packed, which I didn't know about. And then I have a contact solution. So I'm standing there, and then Leia's holding this little sand dollar, which is about this big, and it crumbles in her hands. So she just starts sobbing. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh my
no.
God, like everything is happening at once. We have 20 minutes to get to our gate before they close the door. And the TSA agent, I look at her and I'm like, listen, I really, can you move a little bit faster? And she's just like, we will move as fast as we need to move.
Yeah.
And literally my impulse was I want to be like, you son of a bitch, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
But instead I was just like, okay, you know what? That's fine. I totally you take your time, and that's totally fine. And like I just was like, any help you can do would be really appreciated. And I was such a nice little fucker. And ultimately we then had to sprint through O'Hare. We got to our gate, and then there was the most obnoxious United Airlines lady at the front. She goes, "You're in the first class line." And I go, "Is there any way I could just get on with my daughter? She's 5." And she's like, "No." And I'm like, "Please, I just ran here." And she's like, "No, you need to go to the other line. I'm telling you, it's going to be easier in the other line." I'm like, "I'm here. I just waited in this line. Like, can I please just get on the plane?" And she's like, "Fine." And then she said to her associate, she's like, "Yeah, he needs more time with his 5-year-old." And she said it like that. And I just looked at her and I wanted to just be like, what the fuck? Like, why are you being such a piece of shit? But instead I just said, you know what? Thank you so much. And I just smiled and like walked on the plane.
You pull her aside. You're like, actually, I do, because I'm a single parent. Because get ready for this.
Yeah.
You screen ghosted for her.
Yeah, exactly. You got 16 minutes. Watch this fucking movie. Yeah. So it was an earlier version of myself, a younger version of myself would have just lost it in both of those scenarios. Like I would have lost it at the TSA agent and I would have lost it at the gate, in terms of just being like, getting angry is like the emotional response. And I sometimes find that in relationships too. I get a little like tight and I just want to be more open.
Well,
Yeah.
go ahead,
Go
Jordan.
ahead.
Yeah. No.
Well, I guess I was just assuming that potentially as well that your sobriety plays a factor into this, because there's a good potential that you would have gone out drinking. You know, you're going to be hungover, so and your patience and like all those things, that someone's saying that your fuse is that much shorter, as opposed to being in this, you know, equally tired, but also like a little bit more clear headspace. And granted, this comes with like growth as well. And something I want to tie back really quickly. And Alex, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But I think like nipping it in the butt early, as opposed to allowing something to fester like that, of any kind of issue you have in a relationship, or even, you know, thinking about Alex's situation in the hotel room, is that, you know, as he's laying there at, you know, midnight or something, to go down or call the front desk and be like, "Hey, this is an issue that I'm dealing with right now. Is there any remedy to this?" To then, for then the next morning to be like, "Hey, I called down twice and you guys don't have anything for this issue," that like, and then for her to come up and be like, "Yeah, we've been hearing that a lot," and be like, "Okay, so this is like a common issue that's you're having, that is obviously like, you know, I'm about to write a negative Yelp review or a Google, like, you know, the consequences that come with these behaviors of not addressing it earlier, as opposed to the buildup that could potentially happen that ends up to be an overreaction, or an overreaction, just flatly."
Yeah, man. It's so, I mean, what you guys are saying, that's a great point of what you said, Jordan. And like, who knows? Like, it probably is a lot of like also growth too, but it's like, that's a good point, man, because say you would have had Leia's sand dollar crumbled or whatever, like, you just never know. Like, or like, maybe you like pulled out your phone and chewed out your mom for wanting you to be hydrated, or like, you yelled at Leia in that moment, but like, that's something that she just like internalizes, like,
oh my God,
and she never
dude.
touches a sand dollar ever again. But one like tangential thing I was going to say is like, I don't know, we live in a time where you hear this a lot from people where they're like, be kind, like love and be kind. And I've just been like thinking a lot of like, what does that actually look like in our world? And I feel like it's like, granted, I get it that TSA and probably, I give the TSA more of a slack because they get that probably each person, every single person says it. So they're probably a bit numb to it. But like that person checking you in for the flight, like, I think like be kind is like that moment of her just like looking at you and looking at your daughter and being like, you know what? It's fine. Because clearly it was fine because she did it, and not saying that snide remark, you know?
The snide remark was like, it was unbelievable. And going back to Jordan about drinking, I literally talked to my mom yesterday, and I was, and we were, or a couple days ago, and I was reflecting on the flight, and she's like, I can't believe you made it. You must have ran so fast. And like, Leia is such a good traveler. And I'm like, she is. And I was just like, if I was like, I was tired because we did have a night out, but I wasn't hungover and I wasn't in pain. And like the internal anxiety that I would used to feel after a night of drinking would have made that morning hellacious. Like it would have made it terrible. And I probably would have blown up at Leia and just been like, what, like, don't worry about it, Leia, or Mom, I can't believe you sent me with fucking water. But like, what is,
Yeah.
And then who knows if we would have made the flight, or who knows, but it was just a different way of me reacting. Usually I react very emotionally and get, I go to level 10. But I think you should go to, I don't want to say don't go to a level 10 ever, because there's sometimes in relationships where like there is something that's really bothering you and you need to express those feelings and you need to get that out. I think it's about figuring out how to communicate your emotions and how to communicate those feelings, and when is the appropriate time to say, hey, I've noticed this behavior, it's happening often, it's making me feel X, is there any way we could do Y, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Alex, you had mentioned this too earlier, of like walking around the block, like literally getting fresh air. And in my last relationship, we tend to argue kind of regularly, and I'd always say afterwards is like, we need to change, like the energy of the room just builds up over time, where it was like almost needing hey, let's pause this, hey, let's go for a walk and talk, and how like fresh air and just movement and different like really changes it, as opposed to just like, I think energy is very real. I believe in that. And so when you have that built up, it just continues to push against each other, as opposed to, hey, let's pause, like, before getting to a 10 and saying something that you may regret, or just kind of giving yourself a little time to process. I think that's so important, coming with a clear head versus going with emotions, because our emotions are often very irrational.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, that makes total sense. I read this thing that was really interesting about like the chemistry of emotions. And it basically said like 90 seconds is like what it takes for something to dissipate. And so I was like, oh, that seems like it's not that long. But then I was like, I don't know if I've ever really, unless I was like, let me go around the block, or like, just give me a moment. 90 seconds is actually a long time. You think about like if someone said something that upsets you, actually waiting a minute and a half before responding. I don't think I've ever done that. I've maybe taken 10 seconds.
So my high school sweetheart and and this was my fault. Like when we would get into these arguments, I would just freak out, and it would just be like an ongoing monologue of just like, yeah, but you did this, and yeah, but you made me feel this way. And then she would rebuttal, and almost like we would be throwing daggers at each other. Then with Noelle and I, we had a much healthier relationship. Noelle, when we did fight, she excused herself. She was almost like, I need time. And she would, and it drove me, it didn't drive me nuts. It was just hard for me to, when she'd be like, I need space. And then she would go take 30 minutes or 45 minutes. And in that time, I'd always, like, I would calm down, the situation would calm down, we'd always come back to each other in a better mental headspace. And 9 out of 10 times I was like, I'm so sorry. I was always apologizing.
I was hungry.
Yeah, I was hungry. Exactly. And yeah, it was a good way to handle these arguments, for sure. Taking that breath, taking that step back.
How you feeling, Beastie?
Oh, I do have
good. I definitely just got, I got swept up in a memory of Noelle, and miss her very much.
And that's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I do have like a somewhat, it says it's not a question, but I'm going to present it as somewhat of a question for us, a topic from the audience. This is from my friend Sarah. And
hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for listening. And she goes, not a question, but would be curious to hear your guys' thoughts on things like Love is Blind or fake dating app from Ted Lasso with no pictures. Do you know that dating app? The one that was is a loose concept of like literally connecting with someone, but it's not based off of photos. Anyways, obviously you are attractive dudes and live and work in a very image-centered fields, but it is intriguing. It's a little random, but I was recently forced to binge some Love is Blind, and while the show and characters are a bit ridiculous, the concept is there.
Can I tell you guys a secret?
Yes.
I applied for Love Island yesterday.
Hire this man.
Tell me more.
On my TikTok, I follow this woman, Shannon Powers, and she's a casting director for reality TV shows. And she's like, "Yeah, submit. I'll tell them about your profile." So I submitted yesterday, and it was, we'll see. I don't watch Love Island. I did watch Love Is Blind, and I know the concept. But I'm kind of in this phase of life where I'm just like, fuck it. Like, who cares? Like, if I were to get on, would it be fun? Jordan, I know you mentioned that you're up for a show. I don't know if you can speak about it publicly, but
Yeah,
that's exciting.
well, it's not a dating show. There is like, so I did actually get cast earlier this year in a dating show, and I turned it down. That's because it was Naked and Afraid of Love. So I would be naked on an island dating with people.
How
And that
cold
just
is
seemed,
the island?
you go to Iceland during peak winter.
Yeah.
I was in the pool. And and so I do think listen, I can't BS around this, and I've BS'd in some things in the past, and Alex has called me out about certain things. I am vanity is important to me. And so I would struggle as much as connecting with someone on a level that if I didn't find them attractive, I could not get over that. And I'll just be as honest and frank with it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that position. I'm in the same boat. If I'm not attracted to somebody, then no.
Right. Even if they're awesome and we're
I'm not even
vibing, like
apologetic.
But yeah, what I'm saying in the Love is Blind thing is like, you're chatting with someone and you're like, wow, we have the same thing. I even like her voice. And then there's just this aesthetic thing, or even like the human elements of like pheromones and other things that come into play. If that doesn't connect for you on a romantic, sexualized, like lizard brain of like her smells are like positively triggering me.
I also could argue that after you've developed this relationship in Love is Blind, where you're speaking to each other, it's very intimate. You're having these late night conversations, just like in these pods. And then you do meet them. I think your brain has already created an image of that person and what she or he looks like and feels like. And it's a positive image, right? If there's a vibe. So I think you're actually more open to that person coming in. And I would associate it similarly on a dating app where you are going on a date with a woman who is beautiful on the app, right? Like her images are beautiful. And then you meet her, and I think you already have a positive image of her already in your head. Whereas when you go on a date with somebody that's, I don't want to say not attractive, but somebody who's maybe on the fence of maybe like, is this somebody I really want to go on a date with, or am I just going? Then you have like a different preconceived notion of them.
These are all attractive people too. Love is Blind. They're all like attractive.
Yeah, they're all really attractive.
So it's like, I get it. It's like, oh, we met on a human level first, and then you see their physical appearance. But it's also like, it'd be an interesting experiment of how much they push the physical attraction boundaries. If like, go to the DMV and just do a casting call and just like get a wide selection of Americans versus these all look like an H&M ad.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that was also the concept too, back in like Beauty and the Geek, to showcase like, these people's connections with someone who they traditionally wouldn't be attractive with, but like would have to spend this time and interact and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, guys, I think it's an interesting concept.
We just got a message from Audrey, and Audrey says, hey, wanted to let you know that I love your podcast. Just discovered it this week. I'm already through almost every episode and have recommended it to practically every person I've talked to since listening.
Thank
I
you so
live in
much.
ATX. We're talking Austin, Texas, and would love if you all did a show here. Would 100% be there.
Great.
Here it comes.
Oh,
Side note, I am single, but
Oh.
that's definitely not why I was drawn to the podcast. Can't say it's a concern of mine at 22, LOL. You are all genuinely so funny and have such refreshing personalities.
It's happening.
Yeah.
We were looking for a sign. Austin.
That was the sign. We're
Grouper
going to Austin.
Swooper.
The Grouper Swooper. ATX. ATX. ATX.
Get it.
Let's go. All right. So what are the dates?
All right, guys. I love y'all.
We'll finalize
No,
this.
Robin's
Yeah, we'll
gonna
finalize this
go.
offline. Alex has to get off right now.
All right. This was a shorter episode.
Final thoughts. Give
Yeah,
us a
yeah.
final thoughts, Alex, before you go. You'll end it.
Final thought, I really genuinely love talking to you guys. I oftentimes forget that this is, because sometimes we do just like a Zoom hangout. Sometimes I genuinely forget that it's a podcast, and I'm so grateful for people listening, and I love doing this for you guys.
Love you, dude.
Love you.
Love you. All right, we'll end on that just super high note. We'll be back next week. Follow us at We Are Still Single on Instagram and TikTok. Follow Jordan at Jordan Kahana and Alex at I'm Alex Weber and I'm at Rob Michael Moore. And if you are fans of the show, do us a favor and go to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating, write a little review, and
Send us questions.
Send us questions. You can also
We'll
find us on
answer 'em.
YouTube. We have all the episodes up on YouTube, which are
Ooh.
super fun to watch. Yeah, we love you guys. We'll be back next week.
Love you guys. Thank you guys.